Good morning, it's Pammie. I'm back. Welcome to another episode of Locs Talk. This week, I'm going to go over some of the stereotypes of locks, aka dreadlocks, or people with locks. Okay, so sit back, sit tight, and let's get into it. Okay. So these past, I think it was two now, right? So this is part 3 of the Locs Talk Q&A series. And this particular one, number 3, is based on stereotypes that people like to assume about locks or people with locks or things like that. So I'm going to get into the questions and Q&A. I've gotten feedback that this series is, people are growing to love this series. So I'm going to do this probably in 4 or 5 parts, and then I'll get back to education and demos. Okay, so let's get into it, and we're going to drop that first question on here. All right, let's go. Oh, right out the gate, huh? Locks are not clean. I hate to be the one that is the bearer of, well, I wouldn't even call it bad news, but for those who assume that locks are not clean, that is untrue. It is false, 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 false. Now, that's not to say that people who are not taking care of their hair properly, like by washing it properly, rinsing out the residue like they should, and making sure that it dries properly so that they don't develop things like lock rot, or just consistently putting too much product and on top of product and causing massive buildup, but they're not washing their hair on a regular basis. But that is very few people that do that. A lot of people have taken a lot of time to really research and look at and view videos and ask questions. Now, in the past, there was not enough information for people to really feel inspired to ask questions, but now that locks has become more normalized, people do educate themselves. So yes, we're gonna clean that myth up. Locks are not dirty. Okay, they aren't. Just people who don't take care of their hair, whether they're locked or not, may walk around with dirty hair, and that's often with a lot of people, whether you have locks in your hair or not. So, but when it comes to locks, no, baby, our hair ain't dirty. No. Now, this is a major assumption because I can't even use myself as an example, because even when I wasn't locked, people would ask me if I was Jamaican. I guess I may have features. I don't know what features they're referring to, but I've been asked that a lot. More so since I locked my hair, but prior to, people ask me that. But there is a stereotype and assumption that every black person specifically with locks is Jamaican, and we are not. We are not all Jamaican. And I understand why that is an assumption, because many who don't have an extensive education on the origins of locks go back as far as the 30s when Rastafarian began. So a lot of times, and there are a lot of men that will tell you to this day, they lock their hair because they want to look more like the Lion of Judah with the, and not necessarily Rastafarian. They just want that look. Again, Rastafarian is much deeper than people think it is. So, yeah. And there's a question about that, by the way. So, yeah, all of us are not Jamaican. Okay. So, myth, false. Now, this is something that I know in the past have been told to people, and it's actually still being told to people today. It was a myth then and is a myth now. People who start their locks are being advised to not wash their hair for the first 6 months. No, you have to wash your hair. At the very least, you need to clean your scalp. But yeah, you definitely need to wash your hair because you don't want to walk around not just with product buildup in your hair, but if you go out of your house, you also have the elements of outside on your hair and you sleep and all that. No, you don't want that stuff building up in your hair. It's unsanitary. And it's no. You should wash your hair. It is an absolute myth. It's absolutely false. Do not go 6 months without washing your locks, please. Okay? There's methods of how to gently wash your hair as to not mess up the curl pattern that's helping your hair to lock or to keep it from unraveling. However, you can't avoid something that needs to be done in order to get to somewhere that you're trying to get to. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. Yeah, wash your hair. All right. If you know me, you know me. Now, first and foremost, the answer to this question is more my opinion. I would like to think of it as a fact, but it's still more my opinion. The question, the assumption, the stereotype is that beeswax and honey are the best product to use for your locks. No, it's not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because both are lint and dirt magnets. I don't know if you've seen footage and video of people restoring and cleaning out the debris of honey and wax that burrows down into your locks and solidifies like a cement, causing your locks to be very heavy in weight, and the surface to be very... What honey and wax does to your locks brings to light and truth to the stereotype that locks are dirty and crunchy and hard and crusty looking and all of that stuff. A lot of times that's because people are using those in their hair and then putting other products on top of it, and it's just making this really thick, cakey, crusty, cruddy, dirty, nasty looking shell form on their hair and inside of their hair. Those are just not the best things to use on your hair. It builds up so easily. Wax also creates this seal or shield that prevents moisture from getting into your hair, and so the hair becomes extremely dry and starts to break. I have restored a number of people's locks that started their journeys with other people, and those people would use honey, beeswax, hard gels like that had denat or alcohol in it that causes extreme dryness in their hair. And to get that stuff out after using it for a period of time, it feels thick and sticky like tar in the hair. And with that being said, the hair's heavy. Ugh. No, it's not the best for your hair. That's not only my opinion, but for me, it's a fact because of what I've personally seen, when restoring somebody's hair. Don't use wax and honey on your hair, please. Okay? Don't learn that the hard way. I don't want to see you in my chair, and I have to restore. Sometimes the damage is so bad, it's hard to restore. People don't have the money for the time and energy it takes to restore their hair, their locks back to its former glory. So please, don't put yourself through it. Please don't. Okay? Yeah. Now, there's a stereotype that only black people um, should have locks. Let's clear that up. All hair is lockable. Now, when it comes to a cultural thing, you have to really dig deep and understand and know the history of locks, where the origins are and things like that. So sometimes people will see specific people that have locks and don't understand the background as far as what they're representing in having locks in their hair. I'm not going to go too far in depth with it, but this was one of those topics that has kind of a gray area. It's not black and white, and really involves a lot of extensive research in understanding the origins of locks, because many people have different understandings of where locks originated from. Many people think that its origin is in the Caribbean and Rastafarian, and that's actually one of the latest and the most popular because it's the closest to our time. But the origins and history of locks can go as far back as 3,500 years ago, like, yeah, BC. So do the research before you get too deep into that. So the question is, only curly hair locks, all hair locks, all hair is capable of locking. Some is harder than others, like and the reason why I allowed myself to use this as one of the questions, because a few people had wrote that down in that, and I cleaned it up because there was other ways that they said it, but primarily the reason why I chose to touch on in that particular question about only curly hair locks is because even within our community, the same way colorism is a major issue and the conversation that many don't want to have, texturism is also a major issue and a conversation that many don't want to have or admit to. Like, even within the lock community, there is, if you don't have 4C hair, then you don't really have locks, or get out of here with them smooth whatever locks. And it's a whole nother conversation that needs to be had about that. But to put a myth to rest, all hair is capable of locking. It's just a matter of technique and how to take care of it. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so this is also another stereotype within the lock community, not particularly from people who don't have locks or know much about it, but from within the community. The hair breaks off and grows away from the locks. That's natural for that to happen. No, it's not. If that's happening, that is cause for concern. That means that there's some dryness that's happening. There's some tension and pulling that's happening that shouldn't be happening. Breakage that's close to the roots and growing away from your locks is, to a degree, caused by tensile pulling that can lead to that breaking and the hair growing away from the locks. It can also be the starting stages of traction alopecia, but it can also be like if you're using hair growth products and you didn't have a lot of density to your hair when you started your journey, you could be having hair that's growing back in because you're doing these hair growth treatments from different essential oils that you can be maybe using, or some people take biotin vitamins to help their locks grow faster. That's very common within this community because a lot of people don't have the patience that it takes to wait for their locks to grow, because the growth ratio of locks is different from your normal hair growth. They're ideally, if your hair is loose and healthy and you're keeping your ends taken care of so that they're not breaking off as fast as your hair is growing, the typical growth ideally, and for some is faster and some is a little slower. It depends on how live your hair follicles are and helping and stimulated they are to grow. But typically our hair grows about 6 inches per year, okay, annually. So that's about a half an inch per month of growth that our hair normally grows. And no, Locs does not make your hair grow faster. The whole point is it's not breaking off at the ends. So that's where the assumption that your hair grows faster is because your ends are not breaking off and damaged from, split ends and damaged ends like it was when your hair was loose. So Locs doesn't particularly make your hair grow. It's just that because you're not shedding hair, you're seeing all of your hair as it grows out, and it's assumed that way. Now with Locs, there's the growth and shrinkage, growth and shrinkage, growth and shrinkage. So you'll get the 6 inches of growth, but you may have up to 2 inches of shrinkage. It depends on how tight your curls are. So for example, you'll see more with a person that has like really tight curl pattern, like a 4C, where that might be more true, 6 inch, 4 inches, 6 inch, 4 inches because of the shrinkage. Where like with myself, my hair type is my curls are much looser and wavier. So if I have 6 inches of growth in a year, within that 6 inches of growth, I may have anywhere from 1 to maybe, anywhere within 1 inch of shrinkage. It's not really that much shrinkage. So just keep that in mind, okay? You take that. I have a neighbor cooking, and I guess they burned some rice or something. So you might hear a little bit of an alarm in the hallway. So retouching on what I just said a few minutes ago, there's a stereotype that Locs make your hair grow. Locs don't particularly make your hair grow. Again, when it comes to taking care of your hair, before you locked your hair, if you had loose natural hair, if you wasn't trimming your ends on a regular basis and, making sure that your ends were safe and healthy, right? You can't assume that your hair is not growing. Your hair is always growing. Our hair is always growing. It may not grow at the same rate, but our hairs are always growing. But sometimes if you're not taking care of the ends of your hair, which is why people get protective styles. Protective styles are intended to take care of the ends of your hair. It's to protect the ends of your hair and keep them from breaking off, which is why it's important that before you get an installation of a protective style, that you make sure you clip your ends and make sure they're as healthy as possible before you put that protective style in. Because if you have damaged and breaking ends before you put in a protective style, they're going to continue to be damaged and they're going to continue to break. So when you do the takedown and you're removing all the shedded hair and it gets snagged onto the damaged hair, it's still going to pull and break it away, which is why when you see a lot of videos with people that go and get their hair done after having had a weave in their hair or sew in for a long time, or braiding their hair, and then you see like this big where it's solid hair and then all these split ends go up like this into like a V form, and now you got to cut off all of this just to get to the healthy part of the hair. It's because they didn't take care of the ends. So sometimes it's not the fact that your hair is not growing. Oftentimes your hair may be breaking off as fast or even faster than your hair is actually growing, because again, the ratio is about half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of growth per month. So anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of growth yearly happens when your hair grows out. Okay, so locks make it easier for you to see how much your hair is growing because it's not breaking off at the ends. So it doesn't necessarily make your hair grow. You just get to see how your hair looks when your ends are not always damaged and breaking off. Now, mind you, you do have to trim the ends of your locks too if they become damaged. Don't assume that you don't have to do that. If you start seeing them hanging by strings and stuff, a lot of people really try to hold on and maintain their length. Don't do that. If you see it hanging, don't pull it. Number one, it's like a sweater string. You might pull it and then it start unraveling somewhere midway up here. Snip it off and use hair scissors. I see too much people clipping their locks using fabric scissors, art scissors. Get some hair scissors to cut your locks, and always cut at an angle because that boxy mess. Yeah. So got too far off, but no, locks don't make your hair grow. It just helps you realize and see how much your hair grows. My hair smells so good. I walk past people and they're like, oh my God, what is that? That smells so good. What is that? Oh, that's my hair. Locks don't smell bad, baby. Unkempt locks smell bad. That's not taken care of. If you're not washing your hair, if you have lock rot, if you sweat and you never wash your hair and keep it clean, then yes. However, locks don't smell bad. It's not something that's normal. And if it does, that's a problem that needs to be taken care of. Okay? Does that look hard and crusty to you? Now my mic is right there. Does that sound hard and crusty to you? Locks are not hard and crusty. Again, when or if you ever see somebody who has locks that looks really hard and crusty and dusty and dirty and dingy and all of that stuff, it's typically a person who has been negligent in taking care of their hair, hasn't been washing it, has massive buildup on it and things like that. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but that is the individual. It is not the community. So no, it is a myth. It's false. Locks are not hard and crusty and heavy and all of that stuff. It comes down to the individual and the care they put into maintaining and taking care of their hair. So yeah, okay, that's all. I'm not gonna go far in depth with that. They're not. My hair is light and fluffy like hair is supposed to be, and soft. Okay. Okay, so also a complete myth. Locks are not difficult to maintain at all. Okay. It took more time and energy to maintain my natural hair than it does for me to maintain and take care of my locks. Example, I was natural for 11 years before I locked my hair. So I've been back within my natural state of hair since 2004, so that's 18 years. Yeah, 18 years, 18 and a half years. A little more than 18 and a half years, going on 19 years in January. But maintenance of locks is not hard at all. I wash my hair once every 2 to 3 weeks. Most of the time it's every 2 weeks, but sometimes when I just don't feel like it, I'll go 3 weeks. I've even gone as long as a month, especially if I don't go outside. There's no need for me, because most of the time I sleep in the bonnet every night. I refresh my hair every day. So sometimes I can manage to get away with a month. Most people can. I just like to keep my hair well kept as far as keeping my scalp clean, because I don't want to cause any scalp issues with dryness or buildup or flaking or dandruff or anything. My scalp is pretty healthy and I want to keep it that way. And like, because I maintain my hair, I give myself a moisture routine every day with refresher spray, which is here. It's rose water based moisturizer that I spray on my locks. This is light mist. See? Light mist. Sorry, spraying myself in the face. That I put on my hair. Is not going to make my hair like saturated and heavy, none of that stuff. And then I put a light seal of oil on top of the seal of moisture in. So that can build up over time. Even if you're using the right stuff in your hair, it can still build up, which is why I wash my hair on a regular basis. So it's not hard to maintain. Like, if you look at past videos that I have on here with a demo of me washing my hair and a demo of my daily moisture routine, you will see that it's not hard to do at all. Retwisting your own hair can be a challenge as far as physically. Like, if you just watch instructions, it's something that you can do yourself. But if you have physical disabilities because you can't reach or turn your head and things like that, like for me, I have to take my time and sit and lean and use my sofa to rest my arms because my shoulders can get tired and stuff like that. That's the only part that can be pretty difficult. But even when your hair is loose natural, if you're not used to doing your hair, that could be difficult for you too. And that's why people go to the salon to get their hair done. It's no different when you have locks. I have people that can take care of their hair pretty much for the most part themselves, but they come to me to do like extensive maintenance on their hair that they just want to be able to relax and to let somebody else do. So it's not hard to maintain your locks at all. Okay, much easier than your loose hair, trust me. Okay, so this question is not even assumed about locks. It's about the person. People with locks are just dirty people. Baby, no we not. No we not. Now, again, that is something that really comes down to the individual. A person that chooses not to bathe on a regular basis and stuff, that ain't got nothing to do with what's going on up here. It has everything to do with the person themselves and whatever. It's either by choice or they could be going through something. Okay, but that is that has nothing to do with the fact whether or not they have locks, aka dreadlocks, whatever you want to call it, whatever your preference is. And that's not one of the questions on here, but there's no correct term as far as locks and dreadlocks. It's the preference of the individual, so yeah, even with that, like, I prefer my hair be referred to as locks. Okay. And I have no issue if somebody be like, oh, I love your dreadlocks. I'm still going to say thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm not going to take offense to somebody using that term when they're talking about my hair. They're still talking about how beautiful my hair is. So, yeah, okay. I got to keep my hair away from my microphone because sometimes you can hear it like moving or touching it, okay? But yeah, people with locks are not dirty. That has nothing to do with them having locks or dreadlocks. It has everything to do with that individual and their hygiene, preferred hygiene and or not preferred hygiene, but how they keep themselves. All right. Okay. It's such a big assumption that, we all smoke weed. We all are spiritualists. Now, I personally am very spiritual, and very self-aware of myself. However, I was like that before I locked my hair. It had nothing to do with my locks. Everybody have very different reasons to why they locked their hair. Mine was to just go to the next level of my most natural state of who I am as a person. As you see, I don't wear any makeup or anything. And as I continue to grow in self
What keeps the stuff? What is this stuff? As I continue to grow in self and understand myself and who I am and embrace every part of my naturalness, my hair became a part of that journey. And yeah, so no, we're not all like no. And I'm not going to respond to that as if it's a bad thing to be spiritual or a bad thing to smoke weed and things like that, because that's not my position or my platform to have an opinion on that or not. It can have its benefits for many people, and others, that don't have enough education behind what it is and, what it does for people, will assume that it's a crazy. Yeah, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. We don't all smoke weed. We're not all incense burning spiritualists. We don't all live a hippie lifestyle. There are people that are like in corporate America that has locks. There are professional athletes and performing artists and things that have locks. And no, again, that is something that comes down to the individual and whether they have locks or not. That is just something that comes down to the individual and the type of lifestyle they choose to live. But it's the stereotype that because we have locks, that's how we live. No, I don't sip tea all day, and I don't read crystal balls all day, and I don't light incense all day, and I'm not no. I have my rituals that I do that I'm not going to discuss because that's what I do, but it has nothing to do with the fact that I have locks. That was my life before the locks, okay? Yeah. Don't assume so. It is not the locks that does it. It's the individual and the choices they make in the life that they lead down that road, okay? Yeah. And staying on the subject, no, every person with locks are not Rastafarian, okay? Rastafarian is, it's well respected. It's based on the Lion of Judah, which is on the Ethiopian flag. So its origins go that far back as far as the connections go. Nazarites are Rastafarians. So it's just part of, not cutting off your hair because your devotion to God. To touch a little bit on it, I do have a whole video that I talked about the origins and history of locks from the beginning. But while I highly respect Rastafarian religion, I don't practice it. I don't know enough about it to talk too much about it. Or to have a strong opinion about it. I have basic information that I know about it that I looked up and researched, but I particularly like to really get involved and practice something more before I talk more about it. But to clear up the stereotype that all people with locks are Rastafarian, that is absolutely false. Many people with locks are not Rastafarian, and many do not understand what it is. I personally highly respect it, and I have been researching it more and more to understand it. I've been having conversations with people who are Rastafarians, and yeah, I highly respect it. But I don't claim it for myself because I don't know enough about it. Yeah. It is always assumed by people that it's okay to touch our locks. I can't speak for all people with locks, but I will speak for myself and most people that I know. Like everyone that I know with locks agree with me on this. Don't touch my hair. Touching a person's hair, it's not even just locks, but touching a person's hair, it's very personal. It's like reaching out to a strange woman to touch her pregnant belly. Like, I carry my energy in my hair, and I don't want that tainted by people just touching my hair, thinking that they're free to just touch my hair because they want to feel the texture or see how light it is. If I don't invite you to touch my hair, please do not touch my hair. You're not free to just reach out and touch a person's hair with locks, okay? Or pet it or things like that. Now, when I say pet it, the people I'm talking to, you know I'm talking to you if you're watching this. Don't do that. Do not reach out and touch people's hair. I had a neighbor that I had to check his ass because he saw me at work one day and decided to grab my ponytail, and I damn near lost it. Like, what the hell are you doing? Do not touch people's hair if you're not invited to touch their hair, whether they have locks or not. But specifically, like even when I go and travel and TSA tell me, oh, we got to check your hair, I hate that. I try to wear my hair down and simple like this so they don't have to touch my hair, but they still always have this. And I'm like, oh, God. Then change your gloves. And then they make a big deal about that. You don't touch 1,000 people before I got here. Now you want all the energy from those people and whatever else is on them gloves touching my hair? Don't, no. Absolutely not. Hell no. Don't touch people's hair. You're not free to touch a person's hair. Period. This is such a huge stereotype, and it really irks my nerves, where it's assumed that people with locks, particularly men with locks, are criminals. Seriously? Absolutely untrue, absolutely false. Stop. Just stop. Don't do that. Okay? Locks are not professional. Really? Absolutely untrue, absolutely false. I have a number of clients that are professionals in corporate America that have locks, that are teachers, doctor, okay, lawyer. Yeah, I work with quite a few professionals. Locks not being professional is an absolute myth. The only challenge is keeping them more neat. Like, if I worked in corporate America, I would keep my roots a little less frizzy. But other than that, no, my hair will always be, you can just keep it up. Like, people still don't believe me to this day when I tell them I retwist my hair once every 3 months. So that's 4 times a year I retwist my hair. Oh, but how does your hair look like that and you only retwist it every, quarterly? And the reason why is because, you still gotta moisturize your hair. I still brush my hair every day. This is a soft boy hairbrush. I brush my hair. I cover my hair every night when I go to sleep, and things like that. I'm recording, girl. Shh. So it's really a matter of, again, hygiene and keeping your hair up. It has nothing to do with the fact of it not being professional. Like, just keep your hair neatly styled and stuff like that, and you're fine. Locks are absolutely professional. And, there's a movement to normalize that even more. So, like I said, I work with doctors, lawyers, teachers, corporate America, and their hair looks great. A lot of them talk about how they get so many compliments in the office when they come in with their hair. You're like, oh, I love your hair. Oh, yeah, we want to be reaching and touching. You don't have to tell people. And you can do it respectfully. You don't have to be like, don't touch my effing hair. You don't have to do all of that, you know. Oh, this like got me looking like I got 3 or 4 chins. However, baby, normalize locks. Corporate America, teachers, doctors, we all got them. Embrace it. Embrace who you are. And just, like I said, you don't have to be crazy and all out there. You know, you do want to look presentable. But locks, yeah. I feel like even with my hair like this, it looks fine. You know, but yeah. Okay. So, came to the end. That's the last question. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me this week on the Locs Talk, and where we doing, you know, where I covered a few questions. There's not really that many questions about stereotypes, and there's still more. These are the ones that I got responses about, so that's why I answered them. But be careful. Educate yourself. There's so much that you need to know before locking your hair, so just make sure you do that. And thanks again for joining me for another week of Locs Talk. Bye.